responsibility, but being an advocate for children and being a good trustee in the affairs of the district. One of my true ideas that I believe that is important to encourage young people of many opportunities. For instance, they mentioned brick masonry, they mentioned plumbing and electrician, but how about merchant marine? How about a longshoreman? Explain to them what it is to be in the Peace Corps. Explain to them what it is to go work for the government, not only in ATF, CIA, IRS. There are many opportunities that young people can experience. We need to have people working in the school system that believe in young people when it's time to get their transcript, when it's time for them to get that extra helping hand on the SAT, the ACT, or how to just fill out the form to qualify to play college football. We need someone to stand there. And I would encourage under my trustee, the 4 years, if you elect G. Kenneth Gary, I would do my best to encourage young people to be better than before. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Last to respond will be Mr. Philip Thompson.
My name is Philip Thompson. When talking about leadership skills, anyone that's ever owned a small business understands that every aspect of that business falls on your shoulders. So in terms of leadership, you must be the payroll person, the person doing the hiring, the person developing the strategies for the future. These are traits that I can use for the school board also. We have to plan a vision. We have to set goals. And these are things that I'm accustomed to doing. I'm a reasonable person, someone who likes to gather information. I know how to gather information, absorb the information, and then can sit and reasonably make a decision about different things. These are things that must happen in a school district. Safety in school is probably one of the most important things that I'm concerned about. There are bullies all around, and you can just hear that just from listening to some of the students talk. How can you learn if you're in fear? It can't happen. It can't happen. We need to do more, or look at trying to do more to make our children feel safe. Everything is about the children. It's about doing what we can to make sure that they are in an environment where the primary focus is to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. We move on to the next question. As the economy improves and additional funding becomes available, should the district hire more teachers to lower class sizes or save this money to increase its reserve? Ms. Cecilia Bolin, I'll ask you to start.
Celia Bolin. Hire more teachers and reduce class sizes. From being a teacher for 30 years, that makes a tremendous difference. I could always get around to every student individually, help them when I had maybe 20 or 22 students in the class. There are days when I had 35 and 38 middle school students in a class, and that was a tremendous effort to get and reach every single student every single day. It's kind of like the magnet my mom had on the refrigerator. If mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And trust me, if the teacher is not happy in the classroom and teacher morale is low and they feel stressed and overworked, the academic achievement eventually will take a hit. So without any doubt, I feel like we need to reduce the class size in the schools. I feel like it will benefit the children. I feel like we will definitely see a difference with our teachers and their morale. They've really weathered the economic storm. Since 2008, the teachers have not gotten a pay raise. They've taken furlough days and basically lost money. So this would be an excellent way to restore teacher morale and to hopefully have teachers on the upswing again. Everybody during this time really bonded together in Kershaw County. Staff, faculty, administrators, And it would be nice to honor those teachers with a simple gesture of having fewer students in the classroom to help the teachers. Thank you.
I can. The question again, as the economy improves and additional funding becomes available, should the district hire more teachers to lower class sizes or save this money to increase its reserve? Next to respond, Mr. Lewis Clyburn.
Lewis Clyburn. As I said earlier, one of my accomplishments would be to lower class sizes. The teachers, a lot of teachers are overburdened. If we just had apples and apples in these classrooms, it would be fine. But we have apples, orange, and peaches. We have different type students. We have different behaviors. We have seagull students. We have different type students. So I really think we need to do whatever we need to do to reduce class sizes. You know, when we build these new schools, I'm certain that we are building them for the future and have room to have more classrooms. I know I have a grandson who's in a mobile, you call them. You know, we need to do what we need to do in Kershaw County and get rid of these mobiles and get everybody into school. So I say let's do what we have to do to reduce class sizes and help the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Cup. G. Kenneth Gary. Vote G. Kenneth Gary for School Board District 5, and I truly support improving the school when the economy improves. And I am for all teachers' concerns, teacher assistants, as well as staff. And to be honest, if the economy is going to improve upward, we should improve our teachers' status and give them the opportunity to know that they are loved and respected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Mr. Philip Thompson.
Philip Thompson. As the economy improves, or when the economy improves, absolutely, we need to hire more teachers and also try to reduce the class sizes. Anything that we can do to help make that school environment more about learning. Anything that distracts from learning. Distractions from overcrowded classes, distractions from students that aren't behaving. Anything that is a distraction is going to put an added burden on the teachers, and we must do whatever we can to make that environment conducive to learning. Vote for Philip Thompson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Last to respond, Mr. Ron Blackman.
Everybody here would like to see small classes. Smaller classes, maybe the more attention that each individual student will get. If the economy improves and it gets to where we can afford smaller classes, absolutely, we need smaller classes. But we need to keep quality teachers too, because we've got experienced teachers that don't need to be pushed out or pushed to the side. We need to keep our quality teachers in place because they are the ones that have the foundation of our education system. And salaries need to be up. They need to be paid for their work. All of our teachers work very hard. You know, went through some hard times here last 3 years or so. Teachers did an excellent job. I believe everybody's getting gold and silver ratings because these teachers have continued to work hard. Remember this. If you appreciate it, you work as hard as you can be, hard as you can. And we need to show our teachers that we appreciate them. With smaller classes, we can afford it. We need to pay them. But we need to work as a collective board once again to make these decisions. I'd love to see smaller classes than all the teachers. But these teachers need to be paid. Our experienced teachers need to be kept. And we need to do everything we can to support our teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Blackman. Next question. Small schools are not as efficient to run as larger schools. Since the schools in your area have smaller student populations, what efficiencies would you support in terms of operating these schools in order to make them more cost-effective for the taxpayers of Kershaw County? Mr. Clyburn, I'll start with you. Yes, sir. Small schools are not as efficient to run as larger schools. Since the schools in your area have smaller student populations, what efficiencies would you support in terms of operating these schools in order to make them more cost-effective for the taxpayers of Kershaw County?
Lewis Clyburn. The first thing we need to look at is what is best for the student. You know, we have a lot of small schools in this part of the county, and I feel this next school board is going to have to make a decision. What do we do? Well, I think we need to get the parents involved, the community involved, and look at the cost of running these schools versus the cost of building a new school and what it will do to the students. And I repeat, the student is the most important thing in the teacher. So we just need to look at these, and the community and the teachers and the school board has got to come up and decide how we're going to handle these small schools. Yes, I would rather have all these small schools. I feel like the students get more attention in small schools. But, you know, how many little country stores do you see now? The big box stores have run them out of business. And the same thing in the schools. We've got to have schools that we can run economy-wise. And just, it's going to be a tough decision, but it's one we're going to have to face. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Kenneth Gary.
G. Kenneth Gary. Kershaw County District 5 is one of the largest districts on the school board, extremely large. District 5 has so much coverage that is amazing at times that you can truly represent District 5 without having 2 cars ready to go full of gas. District 5 schools, Baron DeKalb, Miss Betty Turner is doing an excellent job. North Central Middle School, Miss Principal Richardson is doing an excellent job. Michael Garrity, Principal Michael Garrity, my classmate, 1986 Camden High School, is doing an excellent job at Leslie Stover. To make changes right now to the schools and the small schools would be a detriment not only to the community, but to the parents and the guardians who are already going through extreme changes. To be more efficient, you need to be more economically sound in all decisions, not only from the district administration, but to the classroom. And I believe that the teachers and the principals at the schools are very efficient. We just need to work on the administration, working with the trustees, before we make any critical decision that will affect these small schools. Young people already get up early in the morning to go to school to get an education. Mr. Thompson is right about distraction. Distraction is when you see young people coming to school not prepared in the way they dress, not prepared in their attitude. Yes, we need to make some changes and be more efficient, but not just be more efficient in deciding to close the school until we have an alternative measure. And the last thing I'll say, vote G. Kenneth Gary, District 5 School Board, because I believe in not only young people, but I believe in the parents and the guardians and the taxpayers of Kershaw County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Mr. Philip Thompson.
Philip Thompson. Very difficult question to answer. As Mr. Gary said, and several of the other respondents, we don't want students to be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and things like that and spending 2 and 3 hours on their way to school. That is a distraction. Anything that is not promoting learning is a distraction. We certainly want the smaller schools and we want to provide individual attention to as many students as possible. But when we talk about combining schools, we open up another whole set of questions. Which schools need to be closed? Which schools need to remain open? How do you respond to these? We need to go out into the communities and talk with the people and really get an understanding as to what the people in these different areas want. If they can make sacrifices, then perhaps we can do some things that would allow us to combine some schools, and maybe we can partnership with some of the businesses. Without more information, it's very difficult on a school-by-school basis to decide what to do in these situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. Ron Blackman.
You know, once again, everybody says it's a difficult question. It is a difficult question. Talking to folks, I understand that out at Wateree, they have students traveling, going from classes or going to different classes over with the awnings over their head in open weather. Yeah, we're going to have to do something with our schools. Combining schools and closing down schools, we got schools empty now. I mean, we're going to have some more empty schools, but that's something you got to consider. You know, it's going to take the community to make a decision of whether you're going to close school and build a new school somewhere. But once again, you're going to have referendums to do that. When you do those sorts of things, you're going to have not only the school board collectively working to do it, but you're going to have the community, not just this seat 9 or seat 5 on one area. You got to have all the areas working together to get it done, because the votes are going to have to be counted across the county. So that's a very difficult question to answer, will and when and how you're going to do it. You're going to have to probably think about, if you do that, kids getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, they right? How early are they going to have to get up? How late are they going to get home? Some's how you're going to get home. You may have to think about redrawing lines, attendance lines. All of those things taking place when you start building new schools. But repairing schools for safety issues for kids, yeah, like I said earlier, we've got to prioritize this stuff. And if that means that we need to build new schools and it's best for our children, let's do it. You know, let's vote and do it. Let's put it out there for you folks to vote on and do it. If we need to fix things and we got the money to do it. I understand one thing. We got some, last time I heard at the forum, we had some money in $5.5 million in reserve. That's good. You know, some point in time we might need it. You don't never know, but I'm glad we have it. That's the way I feel about it. Ron Blackman, vote June 12th.
Thank you, Mr. Blackman. Next question. Oh, I'm sorry. Miss Celia Boland. I apologize.
Celia Boland. I feel like if we close the small community schools, the public roar would be deafening. I feel like it takes a village to have good schools. It truly takes parents, community members, business partners, students, and all the employees in the school district working together to educate our children. I think this will be a challenge that we're going to have to come up with some creative and innovative solutions. I know right now in the legislature they're talking about privatizing the buses, which that may be something that would affect the community schools. We may have to look at revamping our bus system and transportation based on what happens. We also need to look at possibly consolidating some of our gyms and gymnasiums and facilities. It may not be cost effective to open up every multi-purpose room and run the air conditioning for a few people. I think we're going to come up with some creative ideas at every facility, working with school improvement councils and principals to come up with using and utilizing all of our classes, our classrooms, our facilities, our buildings to be much more cost efficient. Thank you.
My apologies to candidate Boland. I'm keeping the audience straight, the candidate straight. I've got nobody to keep me straight. other than Liz Horton behind me. All right, next question. And by the way, this question, a lot of the candidates kind of went into the answers, and basically we're asking you to expound upon this a little bit more. Do you favor renovating or replacing Baron DeKalb, Bethune, and Mount Pisgah elementary schools at a cost of about $30 to $35 million, which would be part of the facilities equalization plan, or building a combined elementary school to serve these communities at a cost of approximately $13 million? Please explain your position.
Vote G. Kenneth Gary, School Board District 5. It's ironic that I get that question first. As a trustee candidate for District 5 with Baron DeKalb School being one of the center points in my heart, because I worked in the Camp BDK program, and not to be mean-spirited, but the question is, how much do we owe before we build some more? How much do we owe before we build some more? We have a bond, have another bond, and another bond. And if you go to the district website and look at the audit report for 2010-2011, you go to page 50. It's online. It's free to see. You will see on there that we owe $140 million in bond. We are paying right now from the program of the Facilities Equalization Program. So how much do we owe? Do we want to add another $35 million to $140 million? Or do we want to take time to find out where the critical needs are? I am for Baron DeKalb. I am for Mount Pisgah and Bethune. But before we put parents more in debt, how much do we owe before we borrow more? G. Kenneth Gary, District 5.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Mr. Philip Thompson.
Philip Thompson. I hate to kind of keep beating a dead horse here, but I'm just so focused on this learning environment and distractions within this environment. So let's start broadly and say, if a school is deteriorating, if a school has safety problems, then that's easy. You shut it down or renovate it. Okay, and when you make those decisions, when you decide which one of those you're going to do, then you have other decisions that you have to make in terms of, as Mr. Gary said, in terms of money, how much more you're going to spend. But the thing that's important is that we have to have a standard, some way of how our buildings and our schools are going to be left in, are going to be operated. All the schools need to be at some level, and we have to concentrate on that part of it. I'm not for raising taxes, because Lord knows we pay enough already. But if I have to pay more taxes, then I can't think of a better thing that I'd rather pay for than investing more in education, because education, people, is the future of all of us. Those kids that are in those schools right now will certainly